Welcome back to Bourbon Hunter, the channel where we chase great bottles, break down bourbon myths, and occasionally make some questionable life choices, all in the name of whiskey research. Here, we're diving into the stories behind the bottles, the trends shaking up the bourbon world, and the pours that'll make you say, yep, that's going on the top shelf. So grab a glass, settle in, and let's hunt some flavor, because around here, the bourbon's bold, the jokes are bad, and the hunt is always on. Think bourbon only pairs with steak or cigars? Think again. Today, we're diving into bourbon pairing so unexpected your taste buds might call customer support. This is the Bourbon Hunter, and we're about to break every rule your uncle swears by. Bourbon isn't just a drink, it's a whole flavor journey. It's caramel, vanilla, oak, spice, and a little bit of maybe I should text my ex, depending on the proof. But pairing bourbon isn't complicated. Match intensity, contrast sweetness, and let the flavors tell a story. Ideally, one where you're the hero, the narrator, and the questionable decision maker. Dark chocolate and sea salt. Dark chocolate with sea salt may sound basic, but the flavor science behind this pairing is wild. When cocoa hits your tongue, it turns down sweetness, turns up bitterness. That bitterness shines a spotlight on bourbon's caramel and brown sugar notes. Then, the salt jumps in and says, hold my beer. I'm about to unlock every hidden spice layer in this thing. You'll taste oak, cinnamon, clove, toasted sugar, all amplified by chocolate and salt working together like a flavor crime duo. Some possible bottle pairings I suggest for the budget-conscious bourbon hunter would be Four Roses, single barrel. High rye spice meets chocolate bitterness. You're basically creating a grown-up candy bar with a moral compass. While the more free budget taster, I would suggest Widow Jane Lucky 13. Creamy, elegant, dessert-like. Chocolate turns this bourbon into a luxury experience. You will feel rich. You're not rich, but you'll feel it. This pairing works even better if the chocolate is 70% higher in cocoa. Sea salt flakes are better than table salt because it has bigger crystals, which equals bigger flavor impact. High rye intensifies the spice contrast because the extra rye in the mash bill boosts peppery, herbal, and baking spice notes that stand out sharply against sweeter or richer pairings. Milk chocolate works too, but it's like pairing bourbon with someone who shows up to the gym in jeans. Still fine, just not optimal. Its higher sugar and creaminess can mute bourbon's deeper flavors instead of enhancing them. Candied bacon. Candied bacon is the undefeated champion of flavor pairings. Sweet, smoky, fatty, sticky. Basically everything doctors warn you about. Bourbon's caramel and vanilla slide right into the sweetness, while the fat coats your tongue so the spice is like, hello, yes, I'd like to speak to the manager of your taste buds. This pairing hits every flavor receptor at once. It's like a fireworks finale. Possible bottle pairings I would suggest would be the Elijah Craig small batch. All the oak and caramel you need without going broke. Pairs with bacon like they got divorced and are now living in another shot. Knob Creek 18-year. All dark oak, roasted nuts, bold flavor. Next to bacon is basically a Michelin star experience filmed in your kitchen. Candy the bacon with brown sugar and a pinch of cayenne to heighten the bourbon spice. Candying the bacon with the brown sugar adds sweetness to the balance of the bourbon, while a pinch of the cayenne adds a subtle heat that amplifies and highlights the bourbon's natural spice. Use thick-cut bacon. Thin bacon burns, and you're better than that. Thick bacon caramelizes without burning, giving you the rich, chewy, sweet, fatty base that the bourbon needs to shine. Try adding a drizzle of bourbon into the glaze. This reinforces its flavors, creating a richer, spicier, and more harmonious pairing with the bacon. Coffee and espresso. Coffee and bourbon are flavor cousins. They both bring roast, depth, bitterness, sweetness, and that I can take on the world, false confidence. Take a sip of espresso right before or after bourbon, and you'll unlock flavors like toasted oak, burnt sugar, dark fruit, molasses, even chocolate-covered cherries. This pairing works at brunch, after dinner, or anytime you want to look productive without actually doing anything. Possible bottle pairings I suggest: Evan Williams single barrel, bold enough to stand up to the espresso with chocolate and caramel undertones that enhance the roastiness. Blanton single barrel, rich, complex, with hints of toasted nuts, honey, and spice that make coffee sing. Wheated bourbons like Maker's Mark or Larceny have a softer, creamier sweetness that balances espresso's bitterness, creating a smooth, harmonious pairing. Cold brew pairs well with bourbons like Buffalo Trace or Elisha Craig small batch because its mellower acidity and rich chocolate notes complement the bourbon's sweetness and spice. You could also create a Kentucky coffee flight by pairing several different bourbons with coffee or espresso side by side, letting each sip highlight unique flavor notes like vanilla, caramel, spice, or chocolate. It's a fun testing flight style experience that lets your palate explore contrast and nuances. I recommend calling it the Bourbon Hunter Booster Pack because why not make it sound as epic as the flavors you're about to unleash? Oysters. This is the pairing that shocks people. Oysters and bourbon. The moment you say it, someone somewhere clutches their pearls. But brine plus sweetness is one of the oldest combinations in food science. Salt brightens flavor. Subtle mineral notes help highlight and brighten the bourbon's natural sweetness. Creaminess softens oak. The bourbon and oyster combo creates a wild salted caramel effect. It feels luxurious, like you suddenly own a yacht and a really long scarf. Some possible bottle pairings would include bullet bourbon. Light, spicy, slightly fruity. It complements the briny, fresh flavor of oysters without overpowering them. Angel's Envy finished in port barrels. Its subtle, fruit-forward sweetness and smooth, refined finish complement the briny freshness of oysters without overpowering them, making each bite and sip feel balanced and slightly luxurious. This works best with raw oysters, not fried. Raw oysters preserve their briny, delicate flavor, which pairs cleanly with bourbon, whereas frying adds heavy flavors that can overwhelm the spirit. Add a drop of bourbon into the oyster. Adding a drop of bourbon directly onto the oyster creates a bourbon shooter, letting the spirit's sweetness and spice mingle with the brine for an extra kick of flavor. Fruity bourbons with apple, pear, or citrus notes complement oysters by enhancing their natural brininess and adding a bright, lively contrast. Basil Hayden, which is light, smooth, and slightly fruity with notes of apple and gentle spice, make it an elegant complement to the briny freshness of raw oysters. Cheesecake. Dessert meets dessert. This one feels illegal. Cheesecake's creamy texture smooths out higher proof bourbon. In return, bourbon heats the bite and adds spice, caramel, oak, and warmth. It's like letting two introverts hang out. Suddenly amazing things happen. Possible bottle pairings would include Old Forester 1920 Prohibition style. Rich, full-bodied, with deep caramel and vanilla notes that complement creamy cheesecake. Or, if you have a Pappy Van Winkle 15-year, luxurious, buttery, and sweet hints of caramel and oak that enhance the richness of cheesecake. It works best with classic cheesecake, not fruit-covered. Classic cheesecake lets the bourbon flavor shine without competing with strong fruit or tart toppings. The New York-style cheesecake is the best bourbon partner. Its dense, creamy texture of New York-style cheesecake stands up to higher-proof bourbons, creating a balanced, indulgent pairing. Infuse cheesecake with bourbon whipped cream for the bonus round. Adding bourbon whipped cream layers in extra warmth, spice, and turning each bite into a boozy flavor-packed treat. Spicy foods. Let's talk heat. People assume bourbon and spice fight each other. Wrong. Bourbon can actually soothe heat because sweetness balances it out. So pair bourbon with Nashville hot chicken, spicy barbecue, chili wings, anything that makes you sweat but in a way you pretend to enjoy. Possible bottle pairings would include Russell's Reserve 10-year, smooth but bold with caramel and oak notes that complement sweet heat sauces. Baker's Single Barrel, rich, full-bodied with warm spice, caramel, and oak that pair perfectly with fiery foods. This works best with sweet heat combos like honey hot, spicy barbecue. Bourbon's sweetness balances the heat and sweet and spicy sauces, creating a harmonious, flavorful bite. Rye bourbons intensify the spice instead of calming it. The peppery, bold notes in rye bourbons amplify the dish's heat, making each bite more pronounced and exciting. Add bourbon to your wing sauce for the full circle effect. Incorporating bourbon directly into the sauce layers its caramel and spice flavors throughout, uniting the drink and the food in every bite. Bourbon isn't just for sipping. It's a playground, a lab, a journey, and sometimes a therapy session, depending on the proof. These pairings prove bourbon can hang with chocolate, bacon, coffee, oysters, cheesecake, and enough spice to make you reevaluate life choices. And whether you're sipping on a budget bottle or you're out here buying 3-digit bourbons because you found $20 in your dryer, there's a pairing for every flavor adventure. Experiment, play, taste boldly. And if you accidentally host a full-blown bourbon pairing dinner for people you barely know, just tell them the Bourbon Hunter made you do it. Until next time, stay curious, stay thirsty, and keep hunting. And that's another pour down. If you enjoyed hanging out in the hunt today, don't leave me standing here like an empty bottle on a Sunday morning. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment about what I should track down next. Remember, bourbon may age gracefully, but my YouTube channel only grows if you feed it. I'll see you in the next hunt. Cheers, Bourbon Hunters.